Everybody enjoying? Yeah? I'm Annalisa. I am the office manager here at Life Valley Community Church. And I am your MC for this afternoon. No, I'm just kidding. I am actually up here to begin the speeches in honor of Pastor Pat. Pastor John Markham was very intentional about who he asked to come up here and speak. So we have a couple people that are going to come up here and say a few nice things about Pat. We're gonna wait for him to come on up to the front. Just give you guys a few moments to sit down. Man of the day, can you please come to your seat? He did. He heard me. Where's Heidi? Heidi Boyd. Is Heidi here? Heidi Boyd. All right. I'm going to get started, guys. Who's ready? All right. So, 25 years ago, the world was changed for the better. A man entered our lives and challenged us to be the best version of ourselves that we can be. He always encouraged us to live with a positive outlook, consider our way of thinking, and gave us some of the best quotes to live by. Like these ones. My mama always said, you've got to put the past behind you before you can move on. Or this one, stupid is as stupid does. Or the most memorable, my mama always said, life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Of course, I'm talking about Forrest Gump. You know, who did you think I was talking about? 25 years ago, Forrest entered our lives just like Pastor Pat did. East Valley Church, now Life Valley, has lived on for the past 25 years because of this man's dedication, faithfulness, and love for people. Pastor Pat is truly the heartbeat of this church, and we would not be the same without you. I have had the honor and privilege of knowing you for just about 4 years now, and I'm so thankful I get to call you not only my coworker, but my friend. You truly care about every person you meet, and I love how intentional you are. You remember the smallest of details, and you give the best gifts. You share your time and talents with those in your life, and today clearly shows that with everyone here. People are better because of you. You have had such an impact everywhere you go and with everything you do, and you glorify God with your life. I will forever be grateful to God for bringing me here to Life Valley and for giving me the gift of Pastor Pat. So Pat, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, I honor you, I thank you, and I love you. Now, Mr. Joel Helveston has a few words.
I didn't know before that I had to say nice words. Y'all know Pat's a sinner, right? I mean, the clear evidence, just tell him that you've never seen Star Wars. And you will be judged to your very core. Also in that category, Sandlot, The Goonies, and Stranger Things. Also Nacho Libre. It took all of 30 minutes for Pat to educate my niece and nephews about Nacho Libre last weekend. Pat's a messed up guy. Just a few months ago, we're coming back from Shasta. Pat doesn't know I'm going to tell this story, but whatever. And the man lost a wheel on his trailer. That's not because he's messed up. That could happen to anybody. And while we're sidelined, he calls AAA and finds out that this is a Sunday night. Everyone's having dinner at this point. He finds out that we can get a mechanic to come out on Sunday night, that he's leaving his dinner to come and help us out. And on top of all that, his name is Richard. Very cool name. And like I said, this could happen to anybody. And what anybody could do is just be thankful from their bottom of their heart to Richard. But that's not where Pat ended. Pat took a moment, and the interesting thing about Richard, too, is we thought, this guy is so kind. He's got to be a Christian. But Pat didn't just assume that. He actually asked Richard about this. He asked him, do you go to church? And Richard said that had happened at some point in his life, and it wasn't really a part of his life anymore. But given a situation that anybody could be in, Pat took a moment to ask somebody about their soul, to ask about their relationship with Jesus. And again, reminder, Pat's a sinner. Pastor John reminded us this morning that we are all fallen. All of us have fallen short. And I say this by way of reminder that there's nothing special within Pat that enables him to do what he does, except for Jesus and the Holy Spirit. That this is not a guy who has a special power. This is not somebody who's elevated above other people, but someone who has said yes. Someone who has said yes to Jesus, yes to the Holy Spirit, and yes, he knows that he's fallen. And he has no illusion of telling anybody that he is great. In fact, Jesus tells us that the greatest among us must serve. And that's precisely what Pat has done for 25 years. Not perfectly, not in a way that makes Pat Boyd any better than any other person, but simply because he says yes to the work of Jesus and to the work of the Holy Spirit. And I want to let everyone know here, if you didn't know already, that's something that you can do. We talk about the impact that Pat has had on myself, my family, so many others that come through the church and the youth group. And I want you to know that if you don't know already, that you can have that same impact. And all it takes is saying yes to Jesus. Thanks. I don't know who's next. Chris Marr, where you at? We're fired up for Chris Marr.
Fired up, baby. Where's Pat? Okay, I got to make sure I don't look at him. So a lot of you folks know me, and I want you to give me a lot of grace because I'm not going to make it through this probably. So my wife, she doesn't know this, but she's going to finish it for me. Wow. So page 1 of 40. So 25 years ago, is right over there. This gal comes in. She's a little pregnant. She's got this young guy with her. And it's Pastor Pat. We're interviewing him. And we're just going, dude, this guy's cool. And it was kind of funny because after the interview, the bunch of us, we were on board, right? But, I wasn't quite there. So Pastor Pat, just want you to know, we go to Mexico. Pat, let's go. We hired him right there. So car shows, Halloween VBS sports camp, boat trips, snow trips, lunches with students, designing the multi-purpose room over here, kids club at Cedar Grove. Cedar Grove's going to get me, I'll tell you right now. The youth group, Hume Lake, Mexico Missions, facilities, IT, grad night. I missed a few, but a lot of people in this group can relate to that. He's all about it. And the best part I want to talk about, Pat, is the very best that he always brought to things. And I really saw that. I was his bunkmate when we used to go to Mexico. So we talk about a lot of things. And one of the funny things right away, I realized, well, this guy's a builder. And every time we go into our Mexico project, he'd get back in the tent and we'd have our cuddle time. And, and we would do a lot of giggling. But this guy, and if a lot of guys know me, I'm a big earplug guy. And I got my earplug screwing in because we worked hard. And this guy goes, hey, Chris, what about if we do this? What about if we caulk all those air holes? And next year we bring down double pane windows for the family and a lock set for the family so they have a lock set so they feel safe. And I have a huge list, I can just tell you right now. And then he also just figured out that a lot of people just couldn't mix the cement, but he'd put people in where they fit. They'd be painting all the trim. They'd be making friendships with the families. And Pat just got it for every member of our team every year. And that's why we put out the word, we're going to go, people go. And it's because Pat, he does it really well, very, very well. So this is where I'm not going to do good. I don't even know if Pat will remember this. We're just chatting. He says, I was over there at Cedar Grove with the kids and gave the Christmas message. And he was just telling me a story about how a little guy came up to him and said, hey, Pat, I've never heard this story. Who is this Jesus? And Pat's heart was just bursting with, he wanted the kid to know. He was flabbergasted, the young person had never heard about Jesus. And as you guys know, Cedar Grove is a huge part of our community, and Pat is there embedded with those little guys. And I just want you to know that changed my life because I saw what love could do and how Pat just loves little guys. And Pat was crushed, but he just keeps going back. And that really touched my heart when he told that story. So I could tell a ton of stories, Pat. But Sharice and I worked on this one together. And so we can go, Pastor Pat Boyd has affected 4 generations of my family. He was there for Irv when Irv needed you, Sharice's dad. He was obviously there for Sharice and I. And then he invested in Sam and Marisa. And now Sam has Marco, Noel, Sarah, ECC, Lily. And Sammy has Reagan and Ellis. 4 generations of somebody just pouring into our lives. We are better because of Pat. Our family will adventure with God because of Pat. Our families will love better because of Pat. The best part about sharing with you guys tonight, I personally think the best story of how Jesus loved people was unconditional. And when Pastor Pat is hanging out with people, he's loving them unconditional and their lives change. Thanks. Fired up, baby.
Oh, man. What do you say about your pops, man? In the last few years, it's come to my attention just how many people around me carry with them issues and anger toward their parents. And I'm just so grateful that, for me, that's the exact opposite. I've had a perfect example of a godly man, father, husband, and church leader for my whole life. I'll hold that example close to my heart for the rest of my time, and that's just going to be so useful to me as I face all these challenges that life's going to throw at me. It's been such a privilege to have a front row seat to my dad's ministry for all these years. When I was a kid, I looked up to so many of you guys as legends. Anytime I got to come on a Wednesday or go to a pool party, it was just like the coolest thing I could possibly do. I just have so many little memories that I'm not even going to be able to get to them all, but I mean, playing Three Musketeers with Jason, or chicken fights on Joel's back, or pretending to stab Daniel Ontiveros, or, watching Iron Man with Mick, or taking pictures with Kayla, or piggyback rides with Marisa. All these memories are just so important to me and so important to who I am every day. I think about all of you guys so much. I mean, some of you guys don't realize how often these memories and these times I've had with all of you pop into my head. And it's just one of my greatest joys that I get to complete the cycle. That now, I once was a kid in VBS, and I was led by Miss Van Pelt, Charisse, Marisa, and Becky Perry, and now I get to lead the kids in my own group at VBS. And I once was a camper at Kids Club with Vic Garcia and Jonah and Mick and Mike Ford as my coaches, and now I get to coach. And now I get to be the leader at youth group after going through the whole thing, and that's just one of my greatest joys, because I know so many friends who walked away from the church and are never going to know what that's like, and I get to see it, and I get to know how much they're going to miss out on. I'm just so glad I grew up and get to give back to this church family. It means the world to me. I'm so thankful that my dad let me be a part of it, and I just pray that one day my kids will know how special it is to grow up in a caring, blessed church body like this one. So thank you.
I'm not going to preach at you again. I just want to say that this is obviously, Life Valley is the result of two churches coming together, and for my part of that, it's a shift, because for the better part of 8-9 years, I was pastoring alone, and I tell you this, but it is sincerely an honor to serve Jesus with you. It is a joy to bear one another's burdens and to serve this church and this community together with you. And I love your heart, and I love what God's done through your life and your marriage and your family and your ministry. And I look forward to what God's going to continue to do. I would like to, I didn't ask them to do this, but if they would like to, I would like to give Pat and or Heidi a chance to share some words if they would like to. I really meant your wife, just to be honest. I'm just kidding.
You want to say something? Okay. Oh, you wrote out some things. Oh. Wow. Well, I'm going to look terrible because I wrote out nothing. So I'm going to... Classic story. So men and women, we always have you... When I do a wedding, I always try to have the husband and the wife write out their vows. And I used to, because how many of you guys were, when you got married, the pastor just said this stuff and you just robotically say whatever that guy says back? That's what was me. And I can remember one thing that the guy said. So when I started doing them myself, I said, no, I want it to be more personal. So I remember I'm not going to name her because she might be actually listening or watching, but I went to her wedding and she thought her husband was going to totally just improvise and make it up. And he wrote out this unbelievable thing and share these deep things, and she did not write out anything. So women, let me give you a tip. Here's what she did. And I knew exactly, I wanted to stand up and say, I know what you're doing. She starts to cry. Goes, I just can't get through this. And so I'm just in my mind going, you don't even know what you're going to say. But you just start crying. And she got off scot-free. And I was the only one. I totally would. I just can't do it. Man, so that might be me today. We'll see. Do you want to go first? All right.
That wasn't me. But see, she didn't have to promise anything because she just cried through it all. So yeah. So anyway, just thank you everyone for coming. I know I was able to tell some of you that, but it was super fun being able to surprise Pat. I mean, he knew we were having something today, but I'm sure he had no, inkling that people would be traveling from, Mississippi, Illinois, Fresno, Washington, Twain Hart, I don't know, Morgan Hill, Reno, thank you, yeah, coming to, yeah, Washington, yeah, exactly, Milpitas. So, anyway, the story with us starts in this room. 25 years ago, it was in the summertime we came here, and there was a big circle set up of chairs, and Pat was candidating what it was called. And it was the Garcias, the Mazzones, the Mars were in here, Pastor John, Gary Dixon, I don't know, maybe Don or Denise. I don't know if they were in here or not. But anyway, we sat around and they asked Pat a bunch of questions about his theology. And, I was just there because, I'm the wife. And so, but I was about 3 months pregnant with Alex and had really bad afternoon, evening sickness. Like mornings were fine, but then as the day went on, it was a nightmare. So we finished up and I'm feeling sick and sick. So as soon as we got in the parking lot, I throw up out in the parking lot because it was just terrible. And so then like a year later, Julie and I were talking, we became really good friends. And she said, yeah, when we were there, I was thinking, this girl does not want to be here. Like I didn't want the job, but I did. I was just so sick and trying not to throw up, in front of everybody who was doing that. And then another funny story is we then had a meeting before, after that, at John and Lucy's house, and Lucy made her famous banana pudding. And we were sitting out in their yard praying, and you guys had a cat, and I was petting, it might have been a neighbor cat or your cat, and I was petting it. And all of a sudden that thing just grabbed my hand with all four paws and just dug in, and John's praying. And I'm like, because I don't want to scream out like some expletive or something during my husband's, candidating. So I probably still have scars on my hand from that. But so Alex and Richie were both born on Wednesdays, 3 years apart. And then they were in church that first Sunday. And they have been just loved by this church and put up with so many antics. I don't know how many people, I know John had people stand up like, how many of you have changed Alex's diaper? How many of you have babysat them and probably never came back to do it again? But you guys have been nursery workers, VBS, Sunday school, youth group, Hume Lake, name it. I mean, the Mars are even our kids' godparents, so that's how much we love this church. And Pat has, performed weddings here, and, sadly he's done funerals and baby dedications and hospital visits. And I don't know if we had, if God would have revealed to us 25 years ago, how tough some of the stuff would be. I don't know. Maybe we would have run. I don't know. But anyway, and I'll just be honest here too. The 7-8 years have been, rough at times. Looking for the good, good fit of a pastor, and I've seen, this man weep over this church, and he's lost sleep, and I'm the worrier of the family. So, when he's up pacing and can't sleep, that it's a burden to him with some of this. And just so many people, though, in those hard times just really came alongside him and, cards, and took him out to lunch and check-ins, or came up to me and asked, how are you doing? Or, Pat's the glue of this church, and we don't know what we would do without Pat. And of course, like Pat mentioned, that's Alex and Richie, just always wanting to help with this church and build bridges. And I don't know how many times they come and help Pat with jobs around the church and just automatically do that. And of course, the Glasses and Imogene, the Emmets, SB, Joel, just Annalisa, Matt, John, and Tiffany, just what a blessing you guys are to this church. When January rolled around and we became one, it was such a relief and just such a burden off our heart that you guys came. Trevor and Alyssa, I know I'm going to miss some names here, but Ralph and Jeffrey Lynn, Michael Eaton, really good, taking Pat out, buying him cereal. He has some special stash somewhere. Efren and Gina, Leslie, the Henrys, Pastor Jeff was such a great part of this church, really held us together and got some things done. The Cabreras, the Garcias, the Wagonars, it's just hard. I feel like the Academy Awards where they were trying to name every single person. But all these people just really came alongside Pat, the Nelsons too. Of course, Pat's parents just raised a really loving person. His testimony is amazing with how that happened. His brother's here. Scott, you could raise your hand. Yeah. Scott had a big influence on that, on Pat. So anyway, just a big thank you for all the people serving out there that had to wait to eat till that long line got through. And so anyway, we're just grateful to this church family, and we've been here for 25 years, and God has just been so faithful to us. And I just want to thank everybody for coming and for just loving us so well over the past 25 years, because we were green when we came. I'm telling you, I don't think we knew really much of anything coming here, and just all the stuff that Chris mentioned. You do photographer, IT, fix-it guy, plumber, I mean, everything just. So anyway, thank you, everybody.
Wow. I know. I'm the crier of the group. Well, I'm just overwhelmed, people. I mean, I think you've really quickly picked up on this is what heaven is going to be like. I think this is one of the few opportunities I've had. We love our greeting time here, but we have a clock up there and saying, okay, be friendly, but you only got 3 minutes to be friendly, so get moving here. But I just love the fact that people, you just sit down, you eat, you hang out. Hey, welcome to family camp. When we do camping again, please come out for that, because this is a little bit what I saw with that. But I think Heidi said it so well. Just we're overwhelmed with God's faithfulness. I mean, to keep it simple is just amazing to me. And I just want to thank Heidi and my kids, my family growing up, and just God has put so many different people in my life. And I really loved how Joel took it, because I am a product of different people. I mean, it goes back, sounds weird, but little things. I mean, I brag about my 5th grade teacher. My brother and I, if you wanted to be bored to tears, but we could go on for hours about our 5th grade teacher. And he was not a Christian, but there were little things. He introduced me to hockey. The reason, I know big time because of Trevor and Mike Ford, but the reason why we do hockey at sports camp because of my 5th grade teacher. And just little things. My photography, my grandfather was a photographer. I grew up with those things. And so I just would encourage you guys to take inventory of your life. God sometimes brings those little skills and abilities and things into your life. But I do think what Joel said is you have to say yes and say, all right, God, what is it that's something that you can do with that? And it's amazing when you say, all right, I'm going to be faithful with little, that God will enhance it and say, I'm going to entrust you with a lot more because you're faithful in the beginning. And I'm telling you, one of the most, do we have any sentimental people? I am big time sentimental, almost to the point where it's like a curse sometimes. Other people are like, Pat, can you just move on? Where we're going to the future. And not that I want to dwell on the past, but I think that the past helps us become who we are in the future. And it was such an awesome experience for me as you kind of go through ministry and you realize, as I started thinking, how many different volunteer leaders had worked in Reality Check? And I'm not just talking Reality Check. I'm not talking sports camp, VBS, kids club. I just started with youth group. And so as a give back, because this is not just about me, this is about our volunteer leaders. I look back, and I'm begging I remember them all. There were 70 names of volunteers through the years that volunteered. And so I wrote out all their names and tried to do my best to have all the pictures. So that is not just a thrown together thing. That is very intentional, because it was such a blessing to work and continue to work with so many of these leaders and see them pour into their students and the people that they ministered to that have now, some of them have now become leaders. I mean, Richie's a testament to that. But I just think, and Chris can attest to the thousands, and I mean thousands of miles that we have driven together, thousands on Mexico trips, snow trips, Hume Lake, boat trips, amazing to see. And so I want those leaders to be affirmed, because it's crazy. Some of them worked as a volunteer for like 10 years. That's insane. Just so you guys know, the average youth pastor doesn't last longer than 2 years. So to have a volunteer for over 10 years is insane. It's crazy. And so I want to just, I know we did this before, but specifically, if you saw that if you were a volunteer at Reality Check at some point, I would like you to stand, because I just want to acknowledge you. So if you were ever a youth leader on Wednesday night, I want you to stand up and just say thanks so much. Sarah, I'll say you're standing. These guys, these are lifelong friendships that I think it is so cool. And many of you guys probably have friends like this where you haven't seen them in a long time, and it's amazing. You just flick the switch and you just act like you just saw them last week. And I think that's a testimony of the friendships that we have. And so that's what I want to end on, to just say thanks so much to those leaders. Well, first of all, we got to make sure we thank Pastor John. Pastor John has been here for the last week, it seems like. He's been camping out, barbecuing for you guys, all that food. That is, you might wonder why he smells like brisket and charcoal. It's because he's been around. It's the beard oil in there. But just thanks so much. And that's a testimony of his heart for ministry and wanted to provide. So just thanks so much. What's that? Oh, Ann, come on. Well, I got to save that for last. But Annalisa, our office manager, has just been unbelievable. Her I'm assuming Annalisa was like the CEO of a lot of that was going on here and putting this together. This is a gift that I love gifts. Anybody like gifts? We love gifts. But this is a gift where you go, yes, I want more. Because I know sometimes we get a gift and like, oh, that's nice, a toaster. And whenever they say the gift, you know it's not a gift that you really like. Oh, a toaster. But this is beyond words. Just the experiences and being able to reconnect with some of these people. It's been awesome. So not that we're going to, I actually don't know what's next. So I'm going to close up with that. Oh, Alex, you're going to speak? Wow, okay. This is a toast, not a roast, Alex. So make sure. Do we have a censor button? We got to make sure. Oh, boy.
The order of who's going to speak, and I was like, well, Dad's not really good at public speaking, so I guess I'll go last. No, I just wanted to say it's kind of interesting now that I'm, getting to grow up in a different place now, and just seeing the way other churches are run. It's really interesting to see, I remember Dad putting us through the Bible study in the family, and saying the same questions year after year, and could be like, okay, this is the question he's going to ask, and he's going to ask that one, and I know the answer. But now that I ask, my friends, these questions Dad's asked me 20 times, and they just go, oh, I never thought of that. And I go, that's kind of a basic question. But so, I remember sitting there just being like, but I'm so glad that you took the time, and then that, I'm sure you did that with the youth group kids as well. And, also looking at other churches, just kind of seeing how bad leadership can be, and it's just Dad's played a perfect game for 25 years in a way, and I just kind of want to be like, well, here's this guy's number. You could ask him a couple questions. Oh, no, I got it. It's good. It's good. So just wanted to, and then last thing is just inspiring a love of audio and adrenaline and those kind of bands that I cling to today. So I just want to say that. Thanks.
All right, thank you all very much for coming out. Feel free to fellowship for a little while. If there's any food left, feel free to pick over whatever may be remaining. And with all my heart, thank you so much for coming and helping us honor Pastor Pat and Heidi for 25 years of faithfulness.